Let's talk about 5 process group in PMP: initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and control, and closing. In this video, I'm gonna give high-level summary of what happens in each and everything in each process group so that you can get understanding when you are solving PMP questions. This video is specifically designed for solving PMP question. If you want to go deep into what happens in each document, you can watch the video that is here on the link, or you can watch the video that I will put at the end of the screen. Initiation. Basically, even before moving to initiation, let's move to pre-initiation activities. Pre-initiation activities are those activities that happens actually before the project. They justify why we are doing the project. Business case, benefit management plan, and that need assessment. Project actually starts with initiation, where we made the project, that the project has started, the project charter gets formed. Project charter is at our hand and we start working on that project charter. Now charter is at your hand, you share with the stakeholders. Along with the charter, you get assumption log, which has a list of all the assumptions. A very important document that I'll cover in planning. Then you make a stakeholder register, which basically lists down who are the all important stakeholder. You rank the stakeholder by power interest matrix. Who are the important stakeholder? These are the things that happens in initiation. Now let's go to the planning phase of the process group. In planning, we have already made the stakeholder register. So let's use it to make a stakeholder engagement plan, which will talk about what is the current engagement of stakeholder using tool of stakeholder engagement matrix, looking at the current engagement of the stakeholder and what is the desired level of stakeholders, current level, desired level, and we will make stakeholder engagement plan to discuss that pattern document. Stakeholder engagement plan is nothing but the strategies required to engage the stakeholders. Once that is approved by the sponsor or change control board, you go and make communication management plan. Communication management plan, I love to say it, 4R of communication. Right information at right time to right people to have right impact. How much information is needed by anyone? Who needs the information? When they need that information? Where that information should be stored? Why they need information? All these 5W and H is put in the communication management plan. And of course, it is approved by the stakeholder and change control board. Then we look at the resource management plan. Resources are of 4 types, 4M. These are things happening in planning. Planning is all about making project management plan. So all these are actually subsidiary of project management plan. We make like 18 plans and 33 documents, and you can watch it about this video, put it in that link. So in resource management plan, that is 4M, manpower, machinery, money, material. We talked about each and every single individual resources. So let's talk about what is the team, because team will be the most important thing. How do you acquire the team? And when you are acquiring the team, a very important document, that is ground rules. We need to set the ground rules for the team. Ground rules is a part of a document that is known as team charter, which sets ground rules, how to handle that decision, how to handle the conflicts among the team members, what to do about when the conflicts happen, what are the values. All these things are in the team charter. This happens when you are acquiring the team members, you set them. Initially, the project manager should set them. Later on, the team needs to refine them and need to work with those ground rules. Do put this in the comment. Are you enjoying this video? Do you like it? And do share it with other people that they can also learn about it. Okay, now the ground rules are set, team charter are set. We need to identify, do we need physical resources or do we need virtual resources? And depending upon the physical or virtual resources, we we look at the strength of the team member, weaknesses and opportunity and threat, SWOT analysis. We can also do MBTI. The purpose is to identify which team member has which skills and give them the task according to their strength so that they can perform better. We use resource calendar to identify thus when the team members will be available, and we also make recognitions and rewards plan to rewards the high performer. We want to do that. This is happening in acquiring. Throughout the project, we'll be identifying the training needs of the team. We will provide those trainings and measure the training outcomes. And in certain cases, we also provide the certificates to the team members. This happens throughout the project. I love Tuckman ladder, which says that forming when the team is acquiring, then storming when the team is settled down and the confusion happen, conflicts happen. Here the project manager needs to use active listening. Are you listening to this video actively? Put in the comment box. And if yes, what is active listening? Let me know. Use active listening to identify the needs of the team members, what the team member wants. Then you use emotional intelligence, which consists of understanding yourself, understanding others, managing yourself, social skills, empathy. Like empathy is going into the shoes of others, and motivations. What is motivation? So motivation is another important thing. Then it comes like who are motivated by what. Like Abraham said that Maslow hierarchy of need says that unless your basic needs are not satisfied, you will not move for the higher needs. Or Hertzberg theory of 2 points, which talks about what are the hygiene agent, the minimum requirement, or what are the motivating agent, what motivates to others. This is hygiene theory and motivating theory, if you look into that. Then we come to the next thing. Where is theory X? Are you believer of theory X, like you need to focus all the time, or are you believer of theory Y? Theory X, theory Y states into that. Or you following McLean theory of power, achievement, affiliation. So we use that to handle the conflict among the team member. We use various techniques to manage the conflict. We can avoid the conflict, or we can do the collaboration. We can force our decision, or we can accommodate compromises and other solution that you need to look into that. All these conflicts management techniques are available for you, and you identify which one is best for you in a patent project. In addition to that, we look into that at which level conflict is, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level, and handle the solution accordingly. We need to understand how to manage the team acting as a servant leadership. Servant leader is more like a mother or father. We need to identify that thing, how we are into that particular thing. So you act as a servant leaders and manage the team, and this happens throughout the project. We need to train and mentor the team members, and that is everything about team. Then we decide whether our scope is fixed, that is, or a scope is adaptive, that is change driven. Depending upon that, we have predictive life cycle, agile life cycle, and we have iterative and incremental. Let's say we have a predictive life cycle, that is plan driven life cycle. If a plan driven life cycle, so first of all I will go with the, if you have a plan driven, then I will go with the change driven. We will collect the requirement using requirement management plan, and we will make requirement traceability. Once the requirement traceability and requirement documentation is ready, so now we will use scope management plan to filter out what are the important requirements, what are not, and we get project scope statement. Once you have project scope statement at your hand, you will make WBS dictionary, and you get scope baseline. Now using schedule management plan, you will divide the WBS work package further into activity list, attributes, and milestone list, and sequence them using finish to start, start to start, start to finish, these sequencing. We need to look at that what are the dependencies, mandatory, discretionary, internal and external dependencies. Once we have those dependencies outlined, then we sequence them using critical path method. We look at the lags and leak, and we have a schedule baseline. Remember, for every activity we need to calculate duration using analogous estimation, same, parametric estimation, statistical relationship, 3-point estimation or bottom-up estimation. You have your schedule baseline, and if you want to decrease your schedule, we have crashing as well as fast tracking for that patent purpose. Once you have that, you go to resource optimization technique, resource leveling, where you optimize all the resources, or resource smoothing. Then we go to the cost topic. Using the cost management plan, we estimate the same way, we get cost baseline. We need to look at the funding limit reconciliation, how we funds the team, and plus we need to understand cost baseline includes all the cost activity plus reserves, and management reserves are the part of project budget. I guess let's stop this video here, because we have let you watch this and put me in the chat box how much you know. I will take from planning from here on. We have discussed scope, schedule, cost plans. We have discussed stakeholder communication and resource plan. The next video I will carry on from the plan. Do let me know how you like it or not like it. Thank you. Okay, let's start from where we ended last video. In last video we discussed initiation, and in planning we discussed resource management plan, stakeholder plan, communication plan, scope baseline, schedule baseline, cost baseline. Now we have all three baselines and some important plans like how to manage the team. Now let's talk about a little bit about risk. You see, we make a risk management plan that defines what will be the definition of risk. By the way, what is the definition of risk? Risk is any uncertain event that may or may not happen. Any uncertain event that may or may not happen. And if that happen, it can have positive, that is opportunity, or a negative impact on one or all of the project objective. That's kind of the pet definition. I hope that it's simple and you can understand it. Risk management plan defines how you are going to manage the risk. Is your organization risk seeker? They run towards the risk averse, they run away from the risk, or are they risk neutral? What is the level of your organization? We will discuss that in the risk management plan. It defines risk tolerance, threshold, things like that, and which probability and impact metrics are you going to use in your project. That will be discussed in the risk management plan. Once your risk management plan is approved, who approved it? Of course, sponsor approved it. Once that plan is approved by the sponsor, then you start identifying the risk. You look at the past lesson learned register to identify the risk. You use OPS, policies, procedure, tools and templates. You use EEF, enterprise environmental factors. You use prompt lists like VUCA, SWOT analysis, and my favorite, PESTEL analysis, political, economical, social, technical, legal, environmental analysis. What are the internal, external threats or opportunity you have? Of course, business case, benefit management plan, project charter, all these documents will have a risk in it. You will look through those documents, what are the risks that your project may face. Now, risk identification is an iterative process. It can happen at any time, but initially if we put more effort in initial identification, it is better for the organization. We try to identify as many risks as it is humanly possible. Once we have identified all the risks, we put them into the risk register. At this stage, we will put potential owners and potential response. Risk owners are those people who are gonna handle that patent risk. So you put the risk owner, you put the potential owner, you put the potential risk response for that risk. Now you have done that, then what we are going to do? Now we are going to handle those risks. We are going to work on those risks. First of all the risks are there, we need to prioritize them. Without prioritization, we cannot work with them. Just like we did for stakeholder, there are two ways to prioritization: qualitative risk assessment and then quantitative risk assessment. We rank the risk both qualitatively and quantitatively. Once we have ranked the risk qualitatively and quantitatively. Qualitatively use probability and impact metrics, like take all the risk and just ranked it, what are the most important risk. Quantitative risk analysis is kind of an expensive tool many organization does not do, and it's kind of optional because the skills required for quantitative risk analysis can be sometimes expensive. So we use inference diagram, we use Monte Carlo simulation, that S curve, we use sensitivity analysis, which is called as tornado analysis, that can help you. All these tools, rank them. By the way, if you need explanation of these tools, I'm gonna put tools and technique playlist here. You can watch that. That can help you a lot in understanding these tools and technique also as an individual way. Acha, once the risks are ranked, we will look at the risk response strategy. For opportunities, we have exploit, number one strategy. Exploit is the most positive word in PMP. I'll repeat, exploit is the most positive words in PMP. If you cannot do exploit, you do enhance or you share that opportunity. And for negative risk, that is threat, we try to avoid the risk, where we completely remove the risk. Or if we cannot do avoid, we mitigate the risk or transfer it. Whenever you transfer the negative risk, you need to pay an insurance or a premium amount to the body. Once you have transferred the risk, then if the risk is above your threshold limit, you can escalate it to the senior management, program manager. And if you cannot do these strategies, then we accept the risk. You see, all these strategies are happening even before the risk occur. We try to avoid, mitigate, transfer. But acceptance is that, okay, we say that let the risk happen, but in acceptance we have active acceptance. If this risk occur, then this is my plan. That is called contingency plan. If this risk occur, I will have a trigger that will tell me, okay, this risk is going to occur. The risk owner is going to look at the trigger. If this risk occur, the risk owner is going to implement the contingency plan. This is also called plan A. And if that plan fail, we have a plan B, that is also known as fallback plan. Happening even before the risk occur, we try to avoid, mitigate, transfer. But acceptance is that, okay, we say that let the risk happen, but in acceptance we have active acceptance. If this risk occur, then this is my plan. That is called contingency plan. If this risk occur, I will have a trigger that will tell me, okay, this risk is going to occur. The risk owner is going to look at the trigger. If this risk occur, the risk owner is going to implement the contingency plan. This is also called plan A. And if that plan fail, we have a plan B, that is also known as fallback plan. Okay, contingency plans and fallback plan, plan A, plan B. Okay, let's say this risk occurred now. Now what you will do? Now the risk owner will implement the risk response, and after implementing the risk response, there are two options. Either that response was successful and you have residual risk left, which is acceptable. We say, okay, let's see what it is. Or you have a secondary risk, as risk that occurred because of the response of the primary risk, secondary risk. So you execute on that risk. So this is active acceptance. We also have passive acceptance. We say that, okay, this is a risk, but we don't think this will occur, or we don't want to plan for it. We say, okay, we will handle it later on. That is passive acceptance of the risk. And for passive acceptance risk, we use management reserve. Like we will raise a change request and we will ask management once they occur, give us some money. For active acceptance, we plan it, we put in the cost baseline as a contingency reserves. Important point. Interestingly, contingency plan is a plan that you use for active accepted risk, and contingency reserves are the reserves that you use. Just to make it easier for you to understand. Acha. Now you are doing risk audit throughout the process. The audit is all about checking the effectiveness of the process. If this risk occur, what will you do? Risk audit. And you also do risk review meeting. The purpose of risk review meeting is, as the name says, review the risk. How many risks can occur, if these risks are going to occur, how you are going to handle them, how many has occurred in the past between the two risk review meetings, how many risks has occurred, which can impact the project, how they are impacting. So risk review meeting get an output as a risk report that is shared with the sponsor and all those things. Every risk review meeting will have a new risk report and risk registers, of course, their own. So there are three documents that we have discussed so far. The risk topic, risk management plan that talks about how the risk process will be handled, risk register that lists down all the risk, and risk report that shows you the weekly or monthly status of that thing. And another thing that is important to understand, risk review meetings, how many risk has occurred, which can impact the project, how they are impacting. So risk review meeting get an output as a risk report that is shared with the sponsor and all those things. Every risk review meeting will have a new risk report and risk registers, of course, their own. So there are three documents that we have discussed so far. The risk topic, risk management plan that talks about how the risk process will be handled, risk register that lists down all the risk, and risk report that shows you the weekly or monthly status of that thing. And another thing that is important to understand, technical reserve analysis. As the risks are occurring, we want to look into that, how much reserves are left for us, and we need to communicate to the sponsor, change control board, seniors in the risk review meeting. And let's say your reserves are done, then you need to use management reserves and you need to raise the change request for that. Another important thing to understand, risk is any event that has not yet occurred and you identified before. One more time, unidentified event that you identify before occurring and you make a plan for it. When that occur, an unidentified event, you plan for it, you identified it, and the event has not yet occurred, you put in the risk register, plan for it and work for it. And once it occurs, you update the risk register. That's it. But if an unidentified event occur and you identified it later on, or something occur, in simple words, something occur and you don't have a plan for it, that goes into issue log. That goes into issue log. Anything for which you don't have a plan is an issue. Risk and issue difference, important. You update the issue log, you review that why it was not identified, you do the root cause analysis, how to handle that, you raise a change request, and if the change request is accepted, you implement that and you communicate to all the responsible party, and then later on you look into that, okay, if that issue can reoccur in the project, we will update the risk register, and if that risk can occur in the future project, for sure we will update the lesson register. It's an important concept to understand into that. So that's all you need to know about risk. Then we see, okay, we discuss about the transfer of the risk. So it comes under the procurement. In procurement, we discussed, can we make something or we have to buy something. Once we decided we want to buy something, we make the source selection criteria. What will be my source selection criteria when I am buying from outside? What are the reasons that I feel that I need to buy something from outside? What is the justification? You make a source selection criteria. It can be something is cheap, you cannot do something, so into that. So that's all you need to know about risk. Then we see, okay, we discuss about the transfer of the risk. So it comes under the procurement. In procurement, we discussed, can we make something or we have to buy something. Once we decided we want to buy something, we make the source selection criteria. What will be my source selection criteria when I am buying from outside? What are the reasons that I feel that I need to buy something from outside? What is the justification? You make a source selection criteria. It can be something is cheap, you cannot do something, so cost to quality, or thousands of other reasons can be there. You identify those reasons, put it into the source selection criteria. Now your source selection criteria is ready. Well done, you have made a good progress. Now we decide whether the scope is fixed or not. If your scope is fixed, we go with a fixed price contract. If your scope is not fixed, we go with the cost reimbursement contract. Fixed price have firm fixed price incentive fee, and fixed price economic price adjustment that is used for the inflation thing. Cost has cost plus fixed fee, cost plus incentive fee, cost plus award fee, and plus of course you have a time and material contract along the way that is based on subscription model. Once contracts are finalized, we made procurement statement of work. That's kind of a thing, what I actually need, I share it to the people. Okay, I need this thing, please share this thing with me, I share it with a third party, okay, look into that, and they share us that thing. So procurement statement of work is ready with us, and then we make a procurement management plan that defines how the procurement is going to happen, what we are going to do in the procurement, things like that. So that's happened in the planning part of the procurement. I'll cover that later and upcoming what happens in execution, monitoring and control. Then we look at the quality plan. In quality is all about agreeing to the standards. We look at that, what are the standards we are going to follow, which standards we are going to benchmark, which we need to look into that. And we look the cost of quality, cost of conformance, money spent to avoid failures and money spent because of failures. What is the cost into that particular domain, like training cost, appraisal cost, all these things come the cost of quality. We agreed with that, we get quality management plan which is approved, and now the quality standards are agreed. We get the quality matrix, that KPI matrix. So quality things are agreed. Important thing, all the compliance things, all those things, even the quality compliance, it goes into risk register. Okay, so we have discussed so far in planning: stakeholder plan, communication plan, resource plan, scope baseline, schedule baseline, quality plan, procurement plan, risk. So that is the sum up of all the plans, and then we go to the big, and that is integration plan, project management plan, which happens in integration. We combine all the plan and we get it approved. Project management plan is ready, which has change management plan, how you are going to handle any changes. I'll come in next video. I will go into Agile, so we'll talk the change. Then we have a configuration management plan that talks about the product, how we are going to handle that, which life cycle we are going to look into that. We decide that, and we have project management plan here. I hope that video makes sense to you. This is all about planning. So far in the two videos we have initiation and planning. In the next one I'll go with the Agile. I'll try to summarize the Agile, and then we'll move towards execution. If you like this video, feel free to let me know how did you love it, and feel free to put your comments. And if you want to join my program, you have my number, contact me. Thank you. Let's discuss now Agile. What is basically Agile? I love to say that Agile is more of a mindset. What do I mean by Agile? You see, Agile is a combination of 4 values of Agile, 12 principles and multiple practices like Scrum, XP, Lean, Kanban, Scrumban, Crystal, etc., etc. But all these things actually are secondary. The primary and the most important thing is its 4 values, which make the mindset. And the mindset is that as a agile person, you must be acceptable to the change. As an agile person, you should behave with the team in a professional way. You should always find the opportunity to train them. You should always find a way to add value to the customer. This is the agile mindset. If I go by book, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, like you collaborate with the customer more than what is written in the contract. In productive, we always say that do what is written in the contract, but in agile we say that let's collaborate with the customer, provide value to the customer, and that value when provided, that can give you much added result, long-term result. I would even say that it's more of a like thing when you have a relationship, when you are living in a town, so you collaborate with the people. If you have a shop, people come, sometimes they don't have money, you say okay, you can give me the money, and later on, that is kind of a collaborating with the customer. So agile is not something new, it is actually the way how the business have been done for thousands of years. How small business, and agile is more towards more small businesses. So how small business have been operated, a small shop, small teams. And one of the concept, of course, agile is for small team, 10 to 12 team members. So customer collaboration over contract negotiation is one value. Then same type of value, respond to a change over following a plan. You see, we want to add value to the customer, we want to deliver value to the customer. For that we make minimum viable product, like whatever the features are produced, let's give it to the market, get the feedback and change it accordingly, instead of waiting for perfectionism, which actually never comes. So release that. So even when you are building, there's a change that can add value to the customer. Do that change. That is important thing. Third value more goes towards business people need to work and how the team is important. It all comes down to the same thing. Work is done by the team. You want great motivated people who can work together, generate something, and that's how everything in the world has been created. Every single product is created because of the team, not because of the right processes. Yes, there may be one or two good things that have been produced because of a process, but most of the things have been produced because the great mind work together and they produce something. So Agile says that individual and interaction over processes and tool. So that is the third value and the meaning I have explained to. The fourth value goes towards the minimum business increment or minimum viable product. Like whatever works, that is the most important thing. Talking is good, but whatever works, that is actually the most important thing that we need to work into, that we need to produce. So that says working software over comprehensive documentation. So we don't want to waste our time on documentation, but it does not says that you don't do the documentation. It says that over comprehensive documentation. We do last responsible moment documentation, whatever is required. So these are four values of Agile: individual and interaction over processes and tool, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, respond to a change over following a plan, working software over comprehensive documentation. The 12 principles have been made from these values. Like we want to simplify those things, we want to focus on quality, we want to people who are motivated, and we want to give incremental delivery. And of course, incremental delivery is one of the cornerstone of Agile. Once you have 4 values and 12 principles, then taking into the consideration from the PMI point of view, Scrum is very important. Scrum is a framework under which the team work together. It is very simple. If you are a fan of cricket or football, Scrum actually came from the football, American football. So what happens, the 11, if you are a fan of a cricket, 11 or 12 team member work together, they look at how we are going to do that. So let's take the example of cricket. There are 11 team members and the 12th player, of course. So let's say 12 team member. At the start of the cricket match, they get together and in a circle, maybe they think what we are going to do, what is our plan, how we can execute. Let's say it's a 2020 match, and once the match is completed, at the end of the match, of course they have a scorecard which says they win or they did not win. But after the match is over, they go together. Now only team is there. The team do the retrospective to learn how we are doing it. And of course, throughout the match, they are looking at what we are doing, good, bad, how we can improve. So similar way, Scrum is there. In Scrum, we have 5 events. The first event is sprint itself, which is 1 to 4 week of duration, minimum 1 week, 4 week, normally it is 2 week. So what happens in a sprint, you actually produce everything. Agile plans work in that way, to take the entire product and you divide it into small releases, and then releases are further divided into sprints. That is, let's say 2 weeks. So you have a sprint, and at the start of the sprint you do sprint planning. You plan for the entire sprint, just like the team plan for it. And once you make a plan, and product owner who's a responsible person who defines the value and who looks for all the items that is in the product backlog, the entire list of requirement, he basically comes there with the team, development team, and Scrum Master. Scrum Master is kind of a facilitator, servant leader, or Agile project manager. They come there and they take from the highest value of the product backlog and put into the sprint backlog. Sprint backlog is a list of requirements you are going to complete in this patent sprint. So they take it from the product backlog, put in the sprint backlog, and once everyone agrees, okay, this is the thing we are going to do. And of course, product owner will say, do more. Team will say, we can do this much. And of course, the team defines the how much we can do. How much they can do in one sprint is called as a velocity of the sprint. Velocity is how much story points, which is story point is the effort required to complete one user story, and user story is just an agile way of saying requirement. One more time, user story as a user, I want this so that this can happen. It's a requirement in the form of Agile. For example, as a user, I am making this video. I want to drink coffee or water while making this video so that I can speak better. So that is my user story. That's a user story. So how much time it will take, how much effort it will take is story point. For every user story, there will be certain story point, and there are way to calculate story point. Ideal hours, that is how many hours there. Affinity estimation, small, medium, large, small, how much you want, and of course Fibonacci series 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13. Those are story points we put it. So we have user stories, story point, and then we say how much story point we can do, that is velocity. So let's say we say 15 is the velocity of an agile team. So we share the sprint goal to the customer, the goal is agreed, now we start working the sprint. Then every single day team get togethers and they say how much we have completed, how much we are gonna do, what is there any roadblock, impediment, things like that. This is called daily stand-ups, daily scrum, like it's kind of a progress sharing meeting. It's we limit it to 15 minutes. We try to do it same time, same location to have a better structure, not product. And you divide it into small releases, and then releases are further divided into sprints. That is, let's say 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks. So you have a sprint, and at the start of the sprint, you do sprint planning. You plan for the entire sprint, just like the team plan for it. And once you make a plan, and product owner, who's a responsible person who defines the value and who looks for all the items in the product backlog, the entire list of requirement, he basically comes there with the team, development team, and scrum master. Scrum master is kind of a facilitator, servant leader, or agile project manager. They come there and they take from the highest value of the product backlog and put into the sprint backlog. Sprint backlog is a list of requirements you are going to complete in this patent sprint. So they take it from the product backlog, put in the sprint backlog, and once everyone agrees, okay, this is the thing we are going to do, and of course product owner will say do more, team will say we can do this much, and of course the team defines the how much we can do. How much they can do in one sprint is called as a velocity of the sprint. Velocity is how much story points, which is story point is the effort required to complete one user story, and user story is just an agile way of saying requirement. One more time, user story, as a user, I want this so that this can happen. It's a requirement in the form of agile. For example, as a user, I am making this video. I want to drink coffee or water while making this video so that I can speak better. So that is my user story. That's a user story. So how much time it will take, how much effort it will take is story point. For every user story, there will be certain story point, and there are way to calculate story point. Ideal hours, that is how many hours there. Affinity estimation, small, medium, large, small, how much you want, and of course Fibonacci series 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13. Those are story points we put it. So we have user stories, story point, and then we say how much story point we can do, that is velocity. So let's say we say 15 is the velocity of an agile team. So we share the sprint goal to the customer, the goal is agreed, now we start working the sprint. Then every single day team get togethers and they say how much we have completed, how much we are gonna do, what is there any roadblock, impediment, things like that. This is called daily stand-ups, daily scrum, like it's kind of a progress sharing meeting. It's we limit it to 15 minutes. We try to do it same time, same location to have a better structure, not to miss anything. And we have information radiators. Information radiators are kind of showing you a progress. It can be task board, Kanban board, which has limit on work in progress limit. We close the retrospective. That's the entire Scrum. So Scrum have 3 roles: product owner who decides the value, who can cancel the sprint, team who decides how the things will be done, how much time it will take, Scrum master who's a facilitator who facilitates between all these people, and if there's any issue he can work into that. And we have 3 main document: product backlog, which is list of all the requirement, all the user story prioritized, sprint backlog, each sprint will have each sprint backlog, and product increment. That's the entire Scrum for you. We have burn up chart, how much work is done, burn down chart, how much work is remaining, task board, Kanban board. Kanban is a special type of task board which has work in progress limit, how much work you can do there. And one of the benefit of the Kanban board is you can identify bottleneck. You see, this is the bottleneck of my water, this water bottle, how much I can drink at one time. So that is a bottleneck. So similarly, which is thing is stopping you, that is the bottleneck of that pattern thing. So you identify that. That is the entire Scrum. We also have a lean methodology which talks about how we can remove waste through that, and value stream mapping, like which shows lead time and cycle time. Lead time is the when user story was requested till it is completed, and cycle time is when team actually started working on it. So that is also there. Lead time, cycle time is there. And we identified then a methodology like crystal. Crystal basically look at the criticality of the project. If it is crystal clear, the project is easy. If it is magenta or other crystal, the project is difficult. That's the agile you need to know for the PMP. I hope that makes sense to you. One more time, remember 4 values of agile, 5 events in Scrum, 3 roles, and then 3 artifacts, and you will be good to go in the Scrum. Understand the mindset of the Scrum and you will be easy to do. Remember that whenever a change is requested in Agile, it directly goes into the product owner. He put in the product backlog and he reprioritizes the product. As compared to what we discussed before, in all the plans, if a change is requested, a change must be requested formally, officially. It goes to the change control board after the project manager do the impact analysis, and they evaluated change should approved or not approved, and if it is approved, then we work into that way. So that's the difference between change request, how you do that. So this so far we have covered initiation, actually pre-initiation, initiation, planning, and now the agile is also covered. In the next video we will look into the execution. I hope that makes sense to you. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Still, if you have any issue, feel free to put your answers in the comment. I will be love to answer you. Thank you. Bye bye. So far we have discussed pre-initiation, initiation, planning, and then agile. Now let's talk about execution and monitoring and control quickly. Execution is all about now your plan has been approved. Now you start working on that plan. The project management plan is approved. So anything that if you want to change it in the execution, of course, you need to raise the change request. Execution and monitoring and control overlaps in that way. So let's say a work is done, a deliverable is produced, and while the deliverable is being produced, by the team, the quality team will make sure that the deliverable is produced according to the quality agreed standard. So they do the audit to make sure the process is effective and there is no problem in the process. They will ensure that. The tools we will be using is like control chart and checklist, check sheets, and if we identify any defects in control quality, we will be using tools like inspection to make sure that it is according to that. And if we find a root cause analysis, why analysis, that fishbone diagram, and of course the beautiful tool of Pareto, scatter diagram, failure mode effect analysis, sampling, all these tools are identified at quality assurance and quality control to make sure right deliverables are being produced. Once the deliverable is produced, the quality team and control team will check it, inspect it according to quality management plan, and if it is according to quality management plan, that deliverable becomes verified deliverable and it goes to validate scope. In validate scope, client checks the deliverable. As I said, monitoring and control and execution overlap. Client checks according to the scope baseline, because with the client scope baseline was agreed, the client check according to scope baseline, and if it is according to scope baseline, we get accepted or validated deliverable. It's an important concept to understand. Only verified deliverable will be checked by the client. Non-verified deliverable will not be checked by the client. It's a critical concept to master, to understand, to comprehend. That first the deliverable comes to control quality, they check it, they say okay, approved by quality, then it goes to validate scope where client check the deliverable and work into that, and you get accepted or validated deliverable. Otherwise, at any step, if it is not accepted, you raise a change request to do corrective action, preventive action, or defect repair. So this is quality in a way. If we talk procurement, so we had made the procurement statement of work. Now we will have a bidder conference with the bidders to make sure that they understand the requirement, that things are clear to the bidders. So we start working into that. Once that is done, that is good. Then now we will move to the next step. And next step is getting the agreement, having the negotiation with them regarding the price. So once that is done, then in the monitoring and control, deliverables start coming to you. So when deliverables are coming, if you want to do audit is always checking the effectiveness of the process. If you want to do audit of them, it must be written in the contract that you want to do audit. This is the way how the audit should be done. This is the audit that you want to do. So let's say you want to do their audit, which must be written into that. So you do the audit. Audit is either done according to the contract or it is not done. It must be done in the contract. Then comes the inspection. Now inspection is like, I bought this airport from Apple. I went to the Apple store. When I bought this airport, I open it, I check it whether it meets the agreed thing or not. If it meets that, then it is accepted, procurement is closed. If it is not, then a conflict has raised. If a conflict is this, you will follow this step. Step 1, try to get a win-win situation, collaborate. Step 2, if you cannot collaborate, do what is written in the contract. If contract is silent, try to get a mediator, a third party. Try to resolve the conflict out of the court. But if even that is not possible, now the last step is you go to the court. Remember this thing, we want to settle outside the court. So you do this thing, all these things outside the thing. And procurement, another important step is that procurements are closed throughout the project. So your procurement is closed. We implement the stakeholder and communication plan to make sure the agreed stakeholder engagement plan is relevant and communication plan is effective. In managed communication, which happens in execution, the entire communication of the project, how much people need information, who needs, is actually executed in this project. We communicate with them, all the information is communicated with them, how much it is needed, all the effectiveness is here. And of course, throughout the project, if we need to update the stakeholder communication plan, we will raise the change request. For the risk, we already discussed, we monitor the risk throughout the project in risk review meeting, and we handle that thing. So we discussed scope, we discussed quality, procurement, both execution and we discussed stakeholder communication, procurement, risk. Throughout the project, we are looking at our scope, schedule, cost, through control, scope, SPI, CPI, SPI and CPI schedule performance index, cost performance index. It should be great. CPI, SPI and CPI schedule performance index, cost performance index. It should be greater than 1, and then that will be a best thing for you. SPI schedule performance index or schedule variance, cost performance index or cost performance. These are the things that you measure your scope and schedule with. So you must know what are the tools that we use to measure everything. For scope, and for scope we measure how many change requests are there. For schedule and cost, we use SPI, CPI. For risk, we look the risk review report, how many risk has occurred. For quality reports, quality control measurements are used. And then stakeholder engagement plan and communication plan is checked, procurement plan is checked. Another important thing, throughout the project, work performance data, raw information is generated. This has happened, deliverable has been produced, this has happened. That raw data goes to all the departments, and everyone compare their plans and generate a report which is called work performance information. Performance information is a next level of data. Like data was generated, it's a low level raw information, then work performance information made by every department, and then you get the work performance report. One more time, try to make it simple. Let's say you have 9 departments: scope, schedule, cost, quality, procurement, risk, etc. the data is generated, that the project is being executed, these deliverables are produced. Those deliverable goes to each department. Each department will compare it according to their plan and discard the remaining data and produce work performance information. So every department will have their own work performance information, like their status report, that goes to project manager, and project manager will create a comprehensive work performance report that is shared to all the stakeholder or important stakeholder according to what? Communication management plan. So that is what happens in monitoring and control. I hope that make sense to you. Execution, monitoring and control. Deliverables are produced, issues are handled. We already discussed in planning how issues are handled. Change requests are raised and approved. Work performance reports are handled. Risks are executed. Stakeholder engagement is executed, a very important thing. And of course, if it's agile, the scrum thing happens. Now comes to the closing thing. So closing comes in two basic way. The project is successful, the project is unsuccessful. Now unsuccessful can be any reason that we cannot, like the deliverables are not valuable anymore, the project has become obsolete, you are run out of money, the project has handled into any risk that cannot be done, risk can be compliance, whatever. So either project is successful or unsuccessful. Both way, once the project is completed, the step number one is you get approval from the sponsor. Sponsor approve the project, now you can close. You start writing final report. That is after sponsor approval, that is the next thing. Then you start updating lesson learned register, start updating project documents. Once lesson learned register are updated, you archive them. Project documents, you archive them. Lesson learned register, put in the lesson learned repository. The detailed final report is shown to the sponsor. If you shared it to all the stakeholders according to communication plan. You start doing administrative closure, all documents are updated, final report is shared. Now you release the team and you celebrate the success. Important document, once the project is completed, benefit management plan is checked to verify whether the identified benefit have been achieved or not, and this must be reflected in the final report. This was the complete series about how the project is started from initiation and how we at the end measure benefit. I hope that series makes sense to you. I hope I have made it as simplified as I can do. If you loved it, do let me know about the things in the comments, and if you find it that I can make further improvements, I'm always there to improve it. Do subscribe the YouTube channel because this motivates me to do more. I still remember when I had 10 subscribers, all of them are family member, and now alhamdulillah I have more than 12,000 subscribers. Thank you for all the love. Please keep spreading this love, and see you when you join the program. The number and email is there, and best of luck. And if you become PMP, do let me know. I love to record your journey. And with that, enjoy this series.